There we go. So here we go. We are looking at the beautiful Hope box. This is the paper pumpkin kit for August. As I said, it was inspired by Shelley Gardner, who's the co-founder of Stampin' Up. When you unpack the box, and I'm going to warn you, I already opened my box. I've already pulled some of the materials out, so I'm going to do my best to kind of mimic what I originally did. So when I open the box, here is my instruction leaflet. It's got a photo of what you can do with the box after you're finished creating. It's got pictures of the 3 cards that we are going to be creating. These are full-size cards, and we're creating 3 of each design. So that's a total of 9 full-size cards, and the envelopes that go with this month's kit. Inside the instructions, nice full color photos with step-by-step instructions on how to recreate the projects. On the back side, it kind of shows you everything that's going to be included in your kit. There's a little bit of information about coordinating materials, and there are also photos of alternative projects that you can make as well. I'm going to have different alternative projects this month, so stick with me till the end so you can see those happening. So when I open up the box, the first thing I'm going to show you is the beautiful stamp set, and I have already peeled some off of the sheet. There's a beautiful text image that says always hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. Another stamp says just a note of hope. There's a beautiful big stamp that says hope. A couple of images, one's a flower, or posy style, a large butterfly, small butterfly, a little bit of splatter, and then there's 3 more sentiments. Where there is hope, there's faith, and where there is faith, miracles happen. Such a pretty stamp set on its own. And remember, the box, the subscription itself is only $22. So when you get the stamp set, that's a great value. But you also get an ink spot each month. Let's see, this month we received a ink spot in the color of Blackberry Bliss. It's about a 1-inch wide. It's perfect for the stamps in the paper pumpkin, but it also helps you build a collection of colors for other stamping. I set my ink spots aside. I marked the month and the year that they appear. That way I have a record when I can go back and use some of the previous colors, and I know my paper pumpkin subscribers have the color. So Blackberry Bliss was this month's color. I will say, because I happen to own all of the Stampin' Up! Colors, I like to go with my full-size pad. So I've got my Blackberry Bliss at the ready. All right, so I've got my envelopes, and remember I opened up my kit beforehand, so I'm kind of having to resort. So there's 3 different styles of envelopes, and this month's envelopes are so pretty. They've got lots of color, and they've got some images on there. Good morning, Barbara. Thank you for joining in. I am unpacking this month's paper pumpkin box. It's been a while since I had a chance to get to it. Today's a perfect day for it, and I want to let you know the reason I wanted to jump in quickly is because there is a special offer through the end of the month. If you are not a subscriber, you can still get your hands on this kit. Typically, Stampin' Up! Opens up any extra kits and any refill kits to current Paper Pumpkin subscribers, but this time they're offering it to anyone. Just click over to my online store, go under Kits, Paper Pumpkin, and you can actually purchase this kit, but only through August 31st. Thereafter, it's going to go back, or it's going to revert to just subscribers. And so here I've got 3 more envelopes. Still, that beautiful pattern on the envelopes. The envelopes themselves are just beautiful. And there are 3 different styles. All right. Then I've got some die cuts. And the die cuts are in 3 different languages. So I'm going to go for the English. Always hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. These are actually die cuts that are reserved for the box itself, because we're going to have a project to do that includes the leftover box. We've got a couple extra, or 3 different flower die cuts and a little tag die cut. I'm going to put that aside. We have this ginormous, beautiful die cut butterfly. Just such pretty colors. The Blackberry Bliss, the Melon Mambo. We've got, looks like Just Jade, some Bumblebee. Very pretty colors. The giant butterfly is for the box itself. There are smaller butterflies and a couple of posies. These die cuts were intended to be used on decorating the box. All right, so you have some instructions on how to assemble the Hope box, so you can see what Stampin' Up! Is suggesting you do with the box. Decorate it on the outside, then you can use it as a memento keepsake holder, photo holder, some notes. You just use it as a memory box, and they even have some suggestions on what you can do with that box. And there is Shelley Gardner, co-founder of Stampin' Up! All right, so let me keep going. I'm going to go with my card bases, and when I open up my kit, I usually like to sort everything so I know what I'm working with. So I've got 3 card bases with a Melon Mambo card front and a little bit of splatter. And there is a sheet of die cuts with different colors. Remember, that's in 3 different languages. So we've got tomorrow, and it must be in French and German, don't know. But we have tomorrow and hope, and we have 3 of each. We're going to be creating 3 cards of each design. Next, we have more card bases. This is a pool party card front, and there are 3. We have some additional layers. So we have like a Bermuda Bay splattered layer. We have another layer that's going to be like kind of like a watercolor brush effect with Melon Mambo going up to Pool Party, and we have 3 of these. We have 3 die cuts with patterned banners. So these little patterns include the colors that are built into the kit itself, and of course that's one of the specialties of Stampin' Up! That color coordination. You know, the pink is going to match up with the pink, the greens are the same, and that's one of the things I just love about Stampin' Up! I have some basic white rectangles. That's going to be another layer. And there are 3 beautiful die cuts, detailed die cuts with posies and butterflies and all of those beautiful colors. So these are on their own are really striking. That's going to be for one of the cards. I have another sheet of die cuts, again in the 3 languages, so I can see hope going all the way across. I'm going to be using the English version. And there are 3 more card bases. These are white, and then they've got some sponged effects in the background, so you can see the posies and the butterflies built into the envelope, or sorry, to the card base themselves. We have a band in Whisper White that's going to be used to decorate the box. And this month we have a bolt of beautiful Blackberry Bliss ribbon. It's a very wide ribbon, probably about 1 1/4 inch, and I haven't opened up my ribbon to see how much I get. This was actually intended to decorate the box, but if you're not going to be decorating the box as shown, of course you can use it any way you like. We have the beautiful tissue paper, and sometimes you want to hold on to the tissue paper as well. And as happens in every box, we also have our adhesives. We have mini glue dot sheets, and some people hate them, some people love them. I happen to now be in the camp where I love them. I don't always use them on my paper pumpkin kits, but I always save them because they come in very handy when I'm adhering things like twine or very small pieces onto card fronts. So we have a sheet of mini glue dots. We also have a sheet of Stampin' Dimensionals, always perfect for adding dimension to our card project. We have a sheet of pretty sequins, kind of like with pink tones. So we always want to add some bling, some shine to our projects. And we have a sheet of die cuts. So there are 4 circles, 8 rectangles. We're only going to need 3 of them, which means we're going to have some leftover pieces, which is always awesome to have on the kits. You can extend your kit even further by using the stamp set and using some of those leftover pieces. Okay, so that's what's in the kit. I'm going to set this box aside, as well as all of the things that were sent to decorate my box. And let's take it away. Let's get started. Now, if you are a subscriber, your first kit included a stamp block in the size of D. I love to use my genuine Stampin' Up! Acrylic blocks. They're very nice on the hands. They're a lot thicker, very comfortable when you're stamping. So I've got these set aside, and I also have different sizes. Paper Pumpkin subscribers get block D, and the stamps will fit on this block, but sometimes this block is too big. So I usually have my supply of blocks at the ready as well. A couple other things I like to keep available when I'm creating my box, or even when I pack it up to take it away on a short getaway or to create while I'm on the go. I like to have my piercing mat, and guess what? That piercing mat will fit in the box just barely. I have my paper snips, and I have my pick-a tool, and instead of the sheet of mini glue dots, I like to have one of my rolls of Stampin' Up! Mini glue dots. These are just so much easier to work with, and if you are a crafter, at some point you want to have your various adhesives available, so that's always nice and at the ready. One more thing, my favorite adhesive is Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. This is usually what I like to use when I'm creating. It's just a practical, economical glue or adhesive, and it's very forgiving, so that's what I like to use. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pull out my instructions. Let's see if I haven't lost them yet, because usually when I'm stamping, something goes missing. I know you've watched me struggle trying to keep everything under control. That's just what happens to crafters. Okay, so let's start with this first card. I am going to need one of the card bases that is the Pool Party card front. I'm also going to need the layer that has the watercolor effect that goes from Melon Mambo all the way up to Pool Party. I am going to need one of the layers that is Bermuda Bay Splatter. And I'm going to need the biggest stamp in the kit, which is Always Hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. And I'm going to go ahead and mount this onto my acrylic block. And as I said, I'm using my own from my stash. If you're a subscriber, you did receive one of the blocks. Now I'll tell you what I'm doing. I am using my grid paper because I like to make sure that I've got things aligned. This is not necessary, but it just helps me align a little bit better. And then I'm going to try and get my head over top to see. What I'm trying to do is get the block on kind of evenly, or get the stamp on evenly, so that when I stamp, I'm not too worried about being aligned correctly. I am going to need my ink, my Blackberry Bliss. This is a stamping project. And I am also going to need some of the little die cuts. So I see that I need the Tomorrow die cut. And I need the Hope die cut. And I'm just following the directions at this point. I'm just looking to see what's on the card itself. Looks like I need 2 butterflies, and did I tell you about that butterfly sheet? See, already I think I've lost something. Let's see where I have taken that butterfly sheet. Let's see. All right, so this was another of the die cut sheets that's in the kit. I didn't talk about it earlier because I had pulled it aside. You can see that there are 4 different colors of butterflies, the larger size, and there are also 6 of smaller butterflies that have the, it's kind of like a daubered effect for the butterfly. And we are going to be needing 2 of these per card. So these are the daubered color butterflies. We're going to need 2. And I'm going to push this over and set these aside for now. And let's get ready to create. So I am using my piercing mat. This is a tool I like to use when I am stamping with clear photopolymer stamps. Rubber stamps have a built-in cush, photopolymer do not, so I usually like to add my piercing mat on here so that I know I get a good inked impression. Now you can roll the dice and you can once in a while get a good impression without it, but you improve your odds when you use the piercing mat. Now I'm going to ink up my Blackberry Bliss ink, and if you're using a full-size pad, you want to make sure that you're going to get lots of coverage. This is when the full-size pad comes in handy, when you have the big stamps. The small stamp spot that's included in your kit is also usable. What I would do instead is flip the stamp over and then ink up the stamp bottom side up, or just kind of in reverse of how you usually ink up. So because this is a nice big stamp, I am making sure that I have full coverage, and according to the instructions, I need the Melon Mambo at the top. So remember, right now we're creating as instructed. You, of course, can create your kit any way you like. Nothing's going to be correct or incorrect. It's all a matter of preference. And I'm just trying to kind of go centered. It's a little bit wider border at the bottom. That's usually how I like to weight my art, a little bit wider border at the bottom. And I'm pressing down firmly. Again, this is a big stamp. You want to make sure you've got good coverage all the way around. You do not want to mess this one up. And by the way, if you're a little unconfident, what you could do is stamp down on your grid paper or a piece of scrap to make sure that you're going to get a good impression. And I'm pretty happy with the way that one came out. Nice impression. And now it's going to tell me the directions have little icons on them. This layer itself, I'm going to remove my piercing mat for now. This layer itself gets dimensionals. So this is going to be the layer that pops up the most. And according to the instructions, you need 4 dimensionals. That's one of the things I like about the new version. It gives you a clue how many you will need. Lots of times we have questions about how many we should put on things, and this is the solution. It's telling you exactly how many to put on. Now my next layer, which is Bermuda Bay, it's like a splatter. This is a flat layer, so I'm going to put on my mini glue dots. And here's what I like to do. I'm going to unwind my mini glue dots, and I take my layer direct to the tape of glue dots. I just make sure I burnish that glue dot on there, and that way I never have to touch the glue dot, because if you do touch them, they're sticky, they're very aggressive. So you can get into a battle with a glue dot, and typically the glue dot wins. So this is one of the newer rolls of glue dots. The glue dots are on the inside of the tape. The old style, they were on the outside. I'm not sure which one I like better yet, although I think there's less waste this way because the glue dots aren't exposed. All right, so I've got 4 glue dots, 1 in each corner. And this is going to be layered right onto the pool party layer. And I'm going to have about maybe ½ an inch all the way around. And one thing I don't have at the ready that is another go-to tool is my bone folder. I'm going to burnish that down. I'm also going to go ahead and fold my card over, and I do like to have my bone folder to just get a nice crisp fold on that. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach the dimensional layer. And again, I'm just following the directions right now. What I like about this kit are the pretty colors, and as I said, these are going to be cards that are coming useful. They're nice to have in your stash because these are the ones you never know when you're going to need, and it's always nice to have them available. That just gets centered. All right, so the following die cuts need a dimensional. So on the words themselves that are going to be layered over top of the inking, we want dimensionals. And Stampin' Up! Is suggesting we put 2 on the longer one, 1 on the short one. The full-size dimensional is perfect. The width of the banner is bigger than the width of the dimensional. These are just going to be put right over top. So sometimes I have paper pumpkins that are undone, they stack up, but I know at some point I'm going to be able to get to it. And when I do get to it, I know everything's going to be in the box. So that's one of the nice things about having these on hand is you know everything's going to be there when you need it. So even though it's been a while since I got to this kit, everything's here, and typically it'll take you about 45 minutes to create the cards as instructed. Now the next 2 die cuts are going to just be added with glue dots. So I'm going to bring in my glue dot tape again, and this is when it's really helpful. Just take the little die cut, goes straight to the glue dot, and I'm just going to put it right onto my card front. And again, one more. And we are almost done. One last thing. Every card needs a little bling, so I'm going to bring in my sequins. I have a full sheet of these. And let's see, Stampin' Up! Says I'm going to use about 7. At this point, you want to have lots of bling, you have lots of sequins, so you could use 7, you could use 5 or 3. I usually like to do in odd increments. So. And the picture itself shows you where the glue dots go. Sorry, where the sequins go. It's up to you, of course, so you could put them any place you like. You just want to have a little bit of bling all around your card. Okay, so there is card number 1. Very pretty, nice big sentiment. Pretty butterflies. I love the way the powerful words are lifted up with the dimensionals. Very calm, soothing colors with a little bit of bright pop to it. So let's see, I'm going to set this one aside. Put it in the envelope, just like so. It's ready to go. There's one card down. And let's move on to our second card. So the second card, card number 2, requires the Melon Mambo card base. This is the one that needs the basic white rectangle. And we need the die cuts that are the banner die cuts. I'm going to go ahead and pop these out. And word of warning, sometimes when you pop out the die cuts, you do not want to throw away the negative. And that is so for this particular kit. When I show you the alternative, we are going to be using parts of the kit that would typically be thrown away as rubbish. So what could I do with that? I can kind of visualize it has a nice little border with some colors. I could cut them apart. I could use it as a stencil. So for now, I'm not going to trash it. I'm going to hold on to it. Put it aside. I am going to need one of the circles. in the die cut sheet. And I am going to need 3 butterflies. And let's see, I need a Melon Mambo, Bermuda Bay, and Bumblebee. So I need the 3 butterflies, and I'm going to need some sequins. Okay, so let's get started on this one. We are going to start off, of course, I'm going to fold my card, get my bone folder, pass that through, and the first step is to adhere this basic white rectangle layer with glue dots. So back to my glue dots. And I'm going to take the layer direct to the glue dot again. You could also be using some kind of snail adhesive or the multi-purpose liquid glue. Glue dots are easy and less messy. That gets adhered almost to the center of the card, so equal border on the right and left, and I like mine, of course, weighted at the bottom, so a little bit wider border at the bottom. There we go. And my next layers as well are on glue dots. So all of these banners with the nice little dovetail ends go on flat. And so here's what I'm going to see about bringing in my liquid glue. Let's see if my liquid glue is cooperating today. So once in a while it gets a little clogged. Today it's fine. And this comes over slightly off, right like so. These little banners add a lot of pattern and a lot of pretty colors to the card. Next, I want a grid banner. And again, I'm just going to put the liquid glue on. Much quicker and easier than the mini glue dots, if you have it. And usually I like to have my multi-purpose liquid glue handy. I'm going to layer that slightly. And I'm going to put on the spotted one to the far right. And again, it's going to come off slightly off the white rectangle. And my final banner is going to be sort of at the top. So in layering terms, this is the top layer. I'm going to bring that right down so I've got a nice background, lots of different pattern going on, a lot of color going on. Next thing it says to do, I'm going to need to stamp. So I'm going to push my card aside for just a second, bring in my piercing mat, and this time we are going to stamp with the greeting that says "Just a Note of Hope." And I'm going to put it on one of my smaller blocks. And I'm going to ink up in my Blackberry Bliss. This is a circle, so I don't have to be too careful with alignment. I just kind of want to center it right in the middle of this circle. Just a note of hope. Peel that off. Push that aside. And this piece is going to go on with dimensionals. And recommendation is 3. What I like about the kits is everything's already pre-cut, pre-scored, designed. It's easy cards, easy pretty cards, and for very good value. This kit's $22, and that includes the stamp set and the 9 cards that you're going to get to create. And this month's even includes that pretty box that you can create after the fact. So that goes on to the card front. Next, I'm going to add my butterflies, and they're going to be secured with just with a mini glue dot, flat adhered. And we have one flying off the rectangle. We have the Bermuda Bay flying off the circle. This one's a little bit trickier to secure on there. I'm going to put it right behind. And we have the bumblebee, the lower right. Just like so. All right, and then finally, card's not complete till we add our bling, bring back the sequins, and looks like there's a suggestion of 5 sequins on this card. So way up at the top, a little below the butterfly, and over by the Bermuda Bay butterfly, right off the page, and one more. Let's see. All right, just a note of hope. Pretty card. These are white card bases, so you can write directly on here without needing a special marker. And I'll go ahead and grab one of the envelopes. So they're pretty much versatile. It doesn't have to be any particular envelope for any of the card bases. So that was card number 2. And let's move on to card 3 already. Remember, I am going to have some alternatives, so stick with me till the end. This card needs the card base that has the daubering on it, or daubering effect. We've got the posies, we've got the butterflies. That's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half and burnish. And this is the card utilizing that beautiful die cut with the butterflies and the posies. And when I push this off or pull it off, I'm going to be really careful. I've got like butterfly antenna on there. I don't want to tear. Right. Just being gentle. They're already perforated, so it comes off very easily. And on this particular one, we also need that nice big hope. We have multiple languages. Now, even though the others are in a different language, look at that. You have a nice white label on the flip side, so you can still use them even if you're not using the different languages. So we need that nice big hope. We also need a couple of the rectangle labels. We're going to be stamping on these. So one goes towards the top, one goes at the bottom. We did get an extra pair of these rectangles, which we will be using on another card. So don't toss those extras away. And let's see, we will need one butterfly. That is Blackberry Bliss. Right, like so. Okay. So let's get started on this card. This particular die cut we are going to adhere with mini glue dots. And I'm going to be very strategic about where I position them. So this one, because it's so delicate, I'm going to bring the glue dot to the die cut, and I'll tell you how I'm doing that. I am going to take my favorite tool, the Pick a tool. It's only $10 and yet it does so much. And I'm going to put the mini glue dot in spots where I have a little bit wider paper cut to kind of secure this down on the card. See, this is what I'm saying. When you struggle with the glue dot's going to win. But I do have the Pick a tool to help me. And I'm just going to put the glue dots down in the areas where there is a wider cutting on this pretty die cut. So some of the areas are really intricate, but I do want this to be secured down because when you slip it in and out of the envelope, you don't want it to be falling apart. There we go. So my adhesives I like to have in my kit include the Tombow liquid glue, some mini glue dots, dimensionals, and the snail or the Seal Plus. So all of those types of adhesive are in my kit. They all have different purposes, and they just make crafting a lot easier. All right, so let's see if I can get this onto the card. I'm going to bring this over. This is orientation with the fold at the top. I'm going to lift up this little die cut, or this big die cut, and check your orientation. You probably want your butterflies flying up as opposed to flying down, so there is a right or wrong. And it's going to get layered right over where the daubering is on the card base so that you have a little bit of a shadow or background. And you just want to make sure that you are within the perimeter of your card base. So make sure that nothing's falling off the card. All right, so next I'm going to bring in my hope, add dimensionals to the back, and we're adding 4, make it nice and secure. And I'm going to flip that over. It goes right, almost centered. I'm kind of looking to see what I don't want covered. I want that little butterfly flying out. There we go. I'm putting mine a little bit lower. I hope that's going to work out okay for me. So next I need to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to bring in those small white labels, bring in my piercing mat, and I need the stamps in the set that say where there is, and we're using the hope from the die cut. So the second part to that sentiment, there is faith. So we're going to do those 2 pieces, and using the Blackberry Bliss ink. So I know I'm a little bit off camera. Let's see if I can pull that in. I'm on my piercing mat. So this is where there is. It's going to be stamped right onto the label. Perfect size. It's all ready to go. You're not going to have to do any trimming. Because it's photopolymer, you can see right through it for placement. Then I need, whoops, there's the first part of the sentiment. Second part, now I'm going to have to clean my stamp. And today I just am using wipes. That's because I've kind of thought my fingers were going to get inky. So I wanted to have wipes at the ready. And I'm going to put this away so I don't lose it. And get the second part of the sentiment that says there is faith. So very inspirational cards, as I said. Most of us know people who are struggling for various reasons. Always nice to get a card as opposed to a text or an email or even a phone call. There we go. Okay, so I've got my 2 sentiments, 2-part sentiment. I'm going to set this aside. I want to make sure I put that away so I'm not going crazy looking for it in a few minutes. And bring back in my card base. And these 2 get secured with dimensionals. These are hard to pick up. How about my Pick-a tool? There we go. So one side of the Pick-a tool is gummy. The other side has the picking tool. I need dimensionals, 1 on each side. let's see. I'm going to pop these onto the card. And so the first part says where there is. I'm going to squeeze part of that dimensional down. My placement wasn't perfect, so I'm going to trim that dimensional before I even put it on. It's kind of popping over the label. I don't want it peeking out on my card. So it goes right over where there is hope. Part 2 is there is faith. And I'm going to put that right below. And I can already see where I'm going to want some bling because I've got a little bit of smudgy going on here. That's okay though. I have my butterfly. This gets secured with just a glue dot. And I'm going to see, well, that's not going to work. Let me put it over here. And I'm going to put my sequins on. One of them is going to be strategically placed right over that smudge. And then I'm going to add about 4 more. And just kind of randomly placed on the card, wherever you want some sparkle. And I'm going to put 1 more. So where there is hope, there is faith. Another pretty card with the white so that you can write your note right inside. And I'm going to grab an envelope. Again, these envelopes are so pretty in themselves. Who wouldn't like to get that in their mailbox instead of some bill, unwanted bill? So far we've done our 6 cards. We did 1 of each design. This is as the kit has designed. So we've got 3 pretty cards going on already. Now we'll set these aside for now. And let's see. For card number 1, let me share with you what I'm doing. I am utilizing the stamp set. What I did was create a background, a tone-on-tone background. So again, I've got a white card base, which means you can write on the inside. I've got some nice layers going on with Bermuda Bay Pool Party, a strip of white, and then a pretty butterfly. And although the butterfly does not, the kit does not include a butterfly in Bermuda Bay, I'm going to share with you how I created this butterfly. So let's get started. What you need is a card base that is basic white, standard card size, so it measures 5.5 by 8.5. I'm just going to burnish that down. I have a Bermuda Bay layer that measures 4 3/4 by 3.5. It's going to be flat adhered right onto the card base, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue and place that right in position. Love the liquid glue because it's very forgiving. If I don't hit the spot right away, I have a little bit of time to tweak it. All right, so I'm going to do some stamping. I'm going to bring in my Pool Party layer. The Pool Party layer measures 4.5 by 3.25, and it's going to go right over the Bermuda Bay layer. So let's do some stamping because some of the images are going to extend off of the cardstock. I'm going to put my piercing mat right underneath, just like so. All right, and I'm going to bring in my ink. I'm not going to use the Blackberry Bliss on this one. So here's how I know if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you do own the Bermuda Bay. It was included in your kit back in April. So you should have this color in your arsenal. I am going to be stamping the butterfly that's included in the stamp set, and I'm going to randomly stamp it across the pool party. So I'm just going to ink up, and I'm just going to have that little butterfly, or that big butterfly, fluttering across the pool party. I'm creating a background here. And then I'm going to bring in the second butterfly from the stamp set, which is a teeny tiny little butterfly. I'm going to be stamping still in Bermuda Bay. So this is a monochromatic card, and I'm just going to again randomly stamp, fluttering across the across the pool party. And then one more thing I'm going to be stamping on here. There is a stamp that is like splatter in the kit, and I'm going to do a little different technique. I'm going to try and vary the density of the ink, so I'm going to ink up, stamp down, and then onto the card. So this is a really subtle splatter. It's almost like I've got two ink colors when I do this, because I'm going to take off some of the ink as I stamp down. All right, so there's my next layer. Next, I'm going to stamp my greeting on a 1-inch basic white strip of cardstock. It's 1 inch by, let's see, 4.5. I'm going to stamp the nice big butterfly right onto this strip, and it's going to be falling off the cardstock, almost like it's flying right off. And at the other end of this basic white, I'm going to have my greeting that says, "Where there is faith, miracles happen." So this goes on a block, still in Bermuda Bay ink. And I'm going to stamp it to the left. All right, and so this one is going to be atop the pool party, but what I'm going to do is add a die cut, and I have an extra die cut. On that sheet that had the big beautiful butterfly. So you can see I've already pulled one off, and when it's on my card you can see what I did was color it the same color as my overall card design. So I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to take one of the butterflies. These were extra die cuts, probably intended for the Hope box, and I'm going to ink up the butterfly on the opposite side. So I don't want that Blackberry Bliss. I mean, it's very pretty that way too. It would really pop. And I'm kind of thinking maybe I do like that color. So what I did was just press this butterfly die cut into my ink pad, but I think for this one I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think I do want that color. I like the way it pops. So let's go ahead and do some adhering. And this layer is going to go right over top of the card base. So let me push that aside. Push that aside, and I put that there. And what I'm doing, I'm looking for my card now. Here it is. It got pushed way aside. And this is going to be flat adhered again. with the Tombow. So if you are a subscriber, a 12-month subscriber, you will be receiving the materials to create the bonus projects. They will be prepped for you. You'll receive it in the mail so that you too can create these extra cards. So that's one of the advantages to subscribing for a full year. You become a member of the Escape Club with extra projects. They are mailed to you. And I also send along a little direction sheet and give you the link to the video so that you can recreate the projects on your own. All right, this is going to be, by the way, that was on dimensionals. This layer is popped up. And finally, I'm going to add that butterfly with a mini glue dot. And let's see. I'm going to use my sheet. So I use my pick a tool to pick that up. And I'm going to put it right over top where I want it to land. I'm going to use a couple. And if you burnish these down, you can use your pick a tool again to lift off the backing. So now you've got sticky reveals. I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to kind of fold the wings up so it makes it easier to work with. And adhere that right down. And then finally, I'm going to add my bling. I'm going to bring in my sequins. With my pick a tool, I'm going to put one right on the butterfly itself. And then just a couple more onto the card. And there you go. There's your first alternative project. Where there is faith, miracles happen. And I supply an extra envelope so that you'll be able to mail this off as well. Let's put this aside. That was bonus card number 1. Let's look at bonus card number 2. On this one, I decided to use a pool party card base. So this one has more layers. It's on Pool Party. We've got a layer of Bermuda Bay, and I'm using the square doilies, a texturized layer of Pool Party, a circle die cut, some stamping going on, and then a banner. So let's recreate this project. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl says pretty card. I appreciate that. So let's start off with our card base, which is Pool Party this time. And next I'm going to adhere a layer of Bermuda Bay. This layer is 4 1/4 by 2 1/2, and it's going to be flat adhered. Just going to put that right on the layer. And it's about 1 1/4 inches from the top of the card. Just like so, and let me push that over just a tiny bit. Remember, that's why I like my Tombow. It's very forgiving. I can always tweak it. Next, I'm going to add a doily. So I'm going to take one of the square doilies. These come in a pack of, oh my goodness, I should have checked for you, probably of at least 25. They're only dollars, like $4. If you are a member of my Escape Club, this will be a bonus. You'll get a package of these doilies this month to help you create. So what I'm doing, because you can see on my card, the doily just peeks out. So I'm going to stretch my resources. I am just going to snip this right in half. And I'm going to place it on both sides of that Bermuda Bay layer. And for this one, I'm going to use my Seal Plus. I'm just going to apply a little bit of Seal Plus right in position. And this one's a little bit more critical. I want it to be sort of centered, peeking right up to the edge, just like so. And I'll do it on the flip side. go. And then next, I am going to have a texturized layer. So this is cut to 3.5 by 5 inches. It has been texturized with the In Good Taste folder. And my Escape Club members will get this layer already texturized so that they can use it right on their project. This gets flat adhered. So we've got some texture going on, still tone on tone. So we've got the blue-green color family going on with Pool Party and Bermuda Bay. I have about ½ an inch on both sides and top and bottom. There's my layer. All right, so now I need to do a little bit of stamping. And what I have cut is a basic white circle. I kind of chopped it off at the edge, so I've got a flat edge on here. I am going to do some stamping on here. So bring in my piercing mat, slip it right underneath. And I'm going to be stamping with the bigger butterfly again. This time I am going to use my Bumblebee ink, and I know that my pumpkin subscribers have this color. It was included in the, in the June paper pumpkin. So you have Bumblebee if you're a paper pumpkin subscriber. I am going to stamp up my butterfly. First the big one. I'm going to put it right onto my die cut. And I'm also going to ink up the smaller butterfly. So let me just mount that. I need a small block. The small butterfly, and I'm going to add in Bumblebee. Perfect. And I'm going to add that splatter onto my card. And this is going to be in Bermuda Bay. So I'm going to put my Bumblebee aside, and I'm going to add some splatter. And this pretty much goes all the way around. So you can see I'm stamping without re-inking. So I've got 2 tones of ink. And kind of want it all the way around the circle. All right, so there is my focal point art. Just cleaning up a little bit. This is going to go right onto my card base. I'm going to bring back my card base. This gets flat adhered. And it's going to go right onto my texturized layer. And all I need is my sentiment. So on my sentiment, I'm going to stamp it directly onto Pool Party. That's about 3/4 of an inch high and probably about 4 1/4 wide. And I want this sentiment that says, where there is I'm going to put that right down there so I can put it onto my block. And now I'm going to bring in the, oh dear, I need my hope stamp. And I'm looking around and my hope has gone missing. I haven't even used it, right? Drats. Wow, this is a pinch. I think this happens every episode, right? Those of you who follow me know something always goes missing. So now my hope stamp is missing. Oh, I found it. Yay. Okay, so I am going to mount this right onto the block at the same time as the beginning of the sentiment, and it's going to run right into hope. Where There Is Hope. The sentiment is going to be inked up in Bermuda Bay. And I'm just going to test it to make sure that's how I want it. Nice. Okay. So let me go ahead and stamp this down. There we go. Now I do want this forked off a little bit, and I'll tell you, you can hand snip, or you can use one of my favorite punches that creates the end of the tag. I've got the one that has the little fork. And let's see, I'm going to trim this down. It's actually a little bit long. And I'm looking for my paper snips right here. And this is going to be snipped right at the end, just like so. Look how easy that is. So you can use your paper snips and create that little ribbon edge, or you can use this easy peasy punch that actually punches two different designs, one that goes out and one that curves in. So perfect ribbon edge on my sentiment. The next thing I also have a 1-inch strip of cardstock. This one's in Bermuda Bay. It measures 1 inch wide and about, again, 4 inches. And I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm going to bring in my punch. This one's a little bit wide. I'm going to see if it will still work. Bringing it in. I'm just going to push it up there. Punch. I've got my nice edge. And let's see if that gets adhered there. Look how I have a nice little shadow or layer with that Bermuda Bay and Pool Party. This gets adhered flat. So the kit itself takes about 45 minutes. It always takes me longer because I talk through it and I share what goes on. So this sentiment next is popped up with dimensionals. Love that the kit included a full sheet, so I've got plenty of dimensionals for other projects. And this is going to be secured right onto the card base, just like so. And you know what comes next, right? I'm going to add some bling. Going to bring in my sequins and just lift them with my pick a tool. And I'm doing in 3s. So here we go. So where there is hope, obviously on the inside, we would stamp the second part to the sentiment that says there is faith. And you know what? If I don't do it now, I'll forget to do it. And then I'll be scrambling looking for my stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and do it now. And ink up. Love that it's photopolymer. That tells me I can do the placement fairly easily. Make sure it's straight. And I'm putting it upper part of the card, so I'll have plenty of space to write a note and sign. Very easy. And I could also put, let's see, my little butterfly right in there. This is what I love about having these stamps. I'm going to add the butterfly in there as well. So, love it. How about a couple? Very nice card to send a friend who is struggling for one reason or another. Where there's hope, there is faith. So there's my card number 2 alternative. I'm going to put that aside. And let's go on to my 3rd alternative. And here's what's going to happen on this one. I'm going to tell you, lots of times I save what would normally go into the rubbish bin because it's very usable. Now I know I'm going to use these die cuts on other projects, so I'm going to go ahead and take off the butterflies. And this is where you get really resourceful in your crafting when you are using pieces that would have normally gone into the rubbish. So this has really pretty butterflies on it, multiple rows. All of these die cuts are going to be used on the cards as we create the kit cards as designed. You will have enough to create all your cards. And look what's left over is this nice die cut with all those beautiful butterflies there. When you layer it atop a pretty color, you can see very pretty focal point going on here. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply some Tombow liquid glue. Here's the best adhesive because I can get into those tiny spots. So here's the decision. Do I want the side with the color, or do I think I want the just white side. That's what I'm going to go with. So I'm actually going to flip it over and use the back side of the die cut, and see how with the Tombow glue I can get into all of those little spots to make sure my die cut is adhered onto the card front. There we go. And I'm going to flip it over, position it right in there. And I have a tiny, like 1/16 of an inch border all the way around. What I did was cut my bumblebee layer to size. I checked the measurements on the die cut, which was, let's see, my bumblebee is going to be 4 inches by 5 3/8, so just shy of the full card front. And I'm going to put this one on Melon Mambo. I love the color combinations here. So I'm also using the different orientation for the cardstock. This has the top fold, but this is a vertical card instead of a horizontal. So that's going to go there. I think I'm going to add a little bit, just a little bit of twine. I'm going to wrap twice and tie a pretty bow. So I'm not even going to cut, I'm just going to wrap it twice. And remember I said I do like those little glue dots. I'm going to bring in ribbon scissors. I know these are ribbon scissors because they have a ribbon on them. And if I keep my scissors dedicated to just one task, they are going to be proficient at each task. Some scissors cut paper, some scissors cut ribbon. So here's where I like to bring in these little glue dots. I'm going to put one down here right where I'm going to want the twine to stay in place. That helps me get a nice, secure, tight bow. And let's see, I think I might need to move this just the tiniest bit. I want this a little bit longer. There. I'm wrapping twice. And I'm going to tie my bow. With that glue dot, it's like having an extra pair of hands here to help me out. So I've got a pretty little twine bow going on here, and I'm not going to trim it out yet. I'm going to do that last. So then that's going to be layered over top, but I do want a sentiment. So I am going to bring in that extra set, if I can find them on my desktop. I have an extra set of rectangle labels from my die cuts that I can't get my hands on quickly. Let's see if I can clean up a little bit. Got way too many things on my work top. And got all kinds of layers going on. Let's see if I can find that die cut. Otherwise, I have plan B. And I'm not finding it. It's not going to happen. Okay, I have an extra pair of white labels. And this is the sentiment that's going to say, where there is hope, there is faith. Now I'm going to borrow one of my hopes. This is something, you won't have that for your kit cards if you choose to do the alternate this way. The other option would be to just stamp on Bumblebee cardstock, but you can see it's white. And so if I were to do that, that would involve a little bit of heat embossing. And I know not everyone has the heat embossing gun and the powders and all that. So I'm going to borrow one from the kit, bring in my stamps, and I'm going to stamp in here. I'm going to bring in my next color of Bermuda Bay. There is faith. And I do want this to be, let's see if I can put it on straight so that I can stamp straight. And it keeps moving on me. Not fair. It's wiggling. Let me just stamp down. It's hard because I've got white on white. Okay, there's the second part of the sentiment. There is faith. I need the first part of the sentiment, which right now is on the large block. Let's see if I can locate that on my desktop. I'm going to ink up in Bermuda Bay, where there is. And I'm going to help myself out here. Push that over, and I'm going to stamp on the pad. That way I can see where the label begins and ends. There we go. All right, so now it's a matter of adhering. So this layer is going to go, let's see, I think I want this flat. So it is a thicker layer, so I'm going to make sure I have plenty of adhesive, especially around that twine. It's going to be a little bit bumpy there. And this gets, whoops, this goes right like so. I'm going to have a tiny, tiny border at the top and bottom. My where there is gets flat adhered. And I'm going to put it right around here. The hope is going to be placed with a dimensional. And so this goes right up here where there is hope. Let's see if I can separate that twine and get that dimensional right in there. And this gets flatted here. There is faith. And this goes right on here. And I'm going to see about taking one of my little butterflies and I'm going to pop it right back in place here. And let's see, I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay, or I think I want the Bermuda Bay. I just need a glue dot to secure that in place. And I'm going to use a couple. And use the opposite end of the pick tool to pick off the ends. And there you go. Where there is hope, there is faith. There's my third alternative project for you, using our stamp set and our leftover kit pieces. So we have 3 alternatives. There you go. Paper Pumpkin August, the Hope box. Now I haven't even created the box yet, but I still have my leftover pieces and the ribbon that go with that. So from this kit, you get 9 full-size cards. 3 of each design. Let's see if they all fit. Not sure if they're going to fit here. 3 of each designs, that's 9 cards, plus the stamp set, the ink spot to create alternative projects. Lots of leftover pieces still. And this kit is still available for anyone. You don't have to be a subscriber until the 31st. It's $22 plus tax. I will give you the link if you'd like to order it. If you'd like to subscribe, I will be posting a slide that gives you the information on why celebration is the best time to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today as I created my Hope box. If you are an Escape Club member, you will be getting the materials for the alternative projects, plus a package of the vellum doilies to keep on crafting. If you have any questions or comments,